Alright, back with the horse with no name here. Trying to get the brake lines off, so as you can see on this side, got that one off. This has been pretty involved, so if you're the kind of guy who has a car that's not like, you know, almost 30 years old, you should be pretty happy about that. So last night I got this line off. I actually broke loose both of the jam nuts, and basically, like, I spent all week, you know, it's Saturday right now, but I mean Monday through Friday I'd wake up, come out here, spray all this stuff with liquid wrench, you know, go to work, come home, spray it up again, and then before I went to bed I'd come out and spray everything again too. So I'll show you what we did to break this side loose. So, you know, the problem being that the flex line wants to spin in this little bracket. So what I ended up doing is got the vice grips on there, and then got a block of wood. So got the block of wood behind there, and then make sure you get line wrenches. So I picked up a set of I mean, I already had standard line wrenches, but I had to go get metric. So I bought metric line wrenches, and you know, just using different hammers. This beefy one. So you know, got it broken loose. I mean, I probably spent an hour playing around with this last night, and then finally today, Saturday morning, got this finished up. But I think what really made the difference was putting that block of wood back there and just really being able to hold that line. And actually last night I wrapped this thing with gauze and just soaked it up with you know, the liquid wrench. So that's good, got that. And also last night, now we're gonna do the wheel kits on this car. And as you can see back here, I broke the line. There's a fitting. The fitting came loose, but it's like it was seized to the line, so it just kept twisting the line. So, and of course, just to be funny, this side came loose, no problem. So that flare fitting twisted out. That wasn't an issue. But you know, the last part of this is going to be disconnecting the splitter on the rear end back there. So probably just going to have to order some, you know, you could go to a parts store and get brake lines and bend them up. That's really not that bad doing it on the rear end. I did that on my white car. But they sell the kits now that are pre-bent. So actually, when I was at work Friday, I was thinking about just chopping all this stuff out of here and getting the new lines anyway. So, but I thought, well, if I can get it loose without having to buy new lines, and that's okay. But like I said, trying to get that splitter, which is up there. You can't really see it, but it's up above the rear end. You know, trying to get the lines out of that splitter is probably going to be a no-go as well anyway. So that stainless steel brake line kit's got the stainless line that goes from the body to the splitter that's on the rear end. So all I really got to do is get that banjo bolt out of the hard line that's on the car, and then we're going to replace all the stuff back here. And the wheel kits are a good idea because the bleeders are all screwed up, can't really get the bleeders loose. So when you get a new wheel kit, you know, it's all nice and new, and it's got the new bleeder in there, so that makes life a lot easier. So yeah, it's coming along slowly but surely. You know, it's just the thing working on a really old car like this. You just got a lot of components that have just seized up over time. The other thing too, you know, we did the driver's side valve cover gasket, so you know, we're gonna do the passenger side as well, get that straightened out. So yeah, that's that. Alright, so that's the passenger side caliper. and that's the driver's side. That mounting banjo bolt was so stuck, literally had to use a breaker bar on it. So got it off the car, and there was no way I was gonna get to that thing. There wasn't enough clearance to really get something on there. So took the caliper off, and that's how stuck it was. And I mean, once again, that's a bolt that I've been shooting that with penetrant oil like all week long. So, but got it out, got it loose. So, and the funny part is, might end up just getting new calipers. Yeah. All right, so this is the vent plug out of the rear end. So, you have to take that off to get that brake line bracket off. So I figured we'd clean it out. And all I did was, you know, use the seafoam to get it cleaned up. And then to finish it off, I just sprayed it out with brake clean. And turned out pretty good. So this should be venting properly. I think sometimes these things getting clogged up is a reason why the gasket on your rear end starts leaking. It's getting pressurized. Alright, so on the passenger side of the car, you can sneak under here and that's where that brake line comes off the hard line on the body. So that's a 1/2 inch bolt. I just took a 1/2 inch socket, 6-point, and I used my impact gun and zipped it right out of there. So then the last thing I gotta do is this is the mounting bolt for that splitter that goes over the axle, and then there's a couple of bolts on the back of the rear end, which is behind the shock here. Got that one. This side's got one, and then there's also I already took it out, but see that hole? There's a 9/16. I used a 9/16 deep 6-point socket, and I juiced that up last night with penetrant oil, so that came out of there with the ratchet. Alright, so the little brackets that are behind the shocks are 5/16. So, you know, this is what I was talking about. Last night I was thinking, I don't know how I'm going to get these lines out. You know, I'd have to jack the car up, put jack stands under the frame, let the suspension down, and then chances are probably going to destroy these anyways. So, with the stainless steel brake line kit, you're getting this new hose. Okay? So, I mean, probably the right way to do this, to get everything up to snuff, is to get the wheel kits, get the new pre-bent lines, or if you want to, you can get, you know, you can go to the auto parts store and bend them yourself. Depends on how much money you want to spend. This mounting nut's 9/16, and like I said, you got that vent that's 9/16. It also holds the lines. So we just cut the lines, got this out of there. So we'll have to pull the drums apart and swap out those wheel kits. Last night I already got the bolts loose for that, so that shouldn't be a big deal. It's just going to be time consuming to pull all that apart. But you know, once the new wheel kits are in there, we'll get all this back in with the stainless. Should be a pretty nice upgrade. I did this on my white car with the stainless steel brake lines. It made a pretty big difference. So, you know, plus all this stuff, these are all original hoses. So, you know, it's one of those things that you go to the track, you don't want to have some, you know, 10-cent part fail on you and result in hitting the wall or something. You know, it's just not worth it. So definitely getting rid of these is a good idea. Other thing I failed to mention, I've got this heat gun I was using to heat up the front brake lines, trying to get those fittings loose. So probably a lot safer than trying to get a propane torch under there, and still let you get some heat into those threads, try to break them loose. Alright, I'm going to try to get the splitter off of this bracket. My number one tip is to just find a kit that has this bracket on it, because for whatever reason this Russell kit doesn't have the bracket. So It doesn't even have a mounting bolt too, which is really disappointing. The kit I put on my white car, which I can't remember, might have been the same kit. It actually came with a mounting bolt to mount the splitter. So I'm gonna have to come up with something for that. But so I just started with a Dremel tool, ground that flat. It's like some of the metal was sticking out. So I ground that flat with the Dremel tool. And I have to use a chisel and start separating this. Should come off of there. I'll probably have to hog this out to get a mounting bolt on there. Alright, just use kind of like a chisel, big hammer, and just getting the chisel in from the side. You know, this was like this. So got the chisel in from the side, just kept hitting it with the hammer. So that separated this piece. So this is the splitter that goes on the rear end. So this hole is for a mounting bolt. So what I have to do is, you know, hog this out. I might use a Dremel tool. Just make a hole big enough so I can run a mounting bolt and a nut through this thing. Alright, so just kind of hog the bracket out. Got this little cutter bit on the Dremel tool, and I got my box of assorted hardware. So I got a nice high quality ARP bolt and who knows what kind of nut, but should be able to put this together with that. Alright, so there's the finished product. Got it bolted on there. Alright, got the booster back in there. The lines reattached. Started cleaning up the mating surface for the intake manifold. Under the car I got the new starter wire tied up here. So what I ended up doing was just you know, that's where the factory loom goes through. So I just zip tied it to the factory loom on both sides. So that's tied up all the way. Got the oxygen sensor extensions going there. Try to tie them up out of the way best I could. So let's see what else. Redid this ground under here, the factory ground. Got that done. Still got some more wiring odds and ends to do up here, and got to get all the intake and all that. Yeah, I got a new coil on there. And then so I should show you on the brake booster. So you've got basically 4 bolts. This is one of them. There's 4 of them. They're 9/16. There's the other one. It's gonna be really tough to film this, but let's see if I can get this brake pedal. Okay, so that little spring clip, that red thing, that's what you have to, you gotta pull that. It's almost like an E-clip, and when you pop that out, that will release the brake pedal from the booster. So it's kind of hard getting under there and getting to it, but pretty straightforward. So we got all that in there, and see what we do next. Probably get this intake and all that going. Alright, getting into doing the rear brakes here. This drum was being kind of stubborn coming off, but I just used a big hammer and just kind of tapped around the back, and that loosened it up enough. I was going to try screwing the adjuster in, but that just wasn't going to happen. I couldn't really get the screwdriver in there to collapse that adjuster, so that's fine. The hammer got it back far enough for me to take it off. So I mean, you can see this is it's pretty terrible. Cobwebs in your brakes, not good. So show you on the other side. We're also going to be swapping out and running longer wheel studs. So I took everything apart. I got this plate loosened, which there were 4 bolts holding it in there. I don't know if I really had to do that, because I think the studs will come through where the wheel kit goes. Don't have the studs yet, so this is about as far as I'm going to get today. I'm just going to take apart the other side, and that's pretty much all I can really do. But there's 4 bolts that hold this plate on, so I got them off, and now this will move around. And if I really wanted to, I could disconnect the e-brake, but I'm not going to do that if I don't have to. Don't think I have to, so I'm going to leave that where it is. So yeah, yeah, got to clean all this stuff up. Get those wheel studs here. This is back in 2013, last time we raced the car. Tech inspector was kind of crying about the length of the studs, so you know, gotta make the tech inspectors happy. So I'm gonna get this side torn apart, and we'll see what happens. Alright, got this side all torn down. I just sprayed up the studs front and back with some penetrant lube, and just tapped them out with that hammer. So that actually surprisingly went quite well. So this one, I think I'm going to leave the plate, because I might be able to just sneak the stud in, like align the hole for the stud with where the wheel kit goes in, so maybe I won't have to take that off like I did on the other side. But I've never done this before, so I didn't know. I figured maybe the plate moving would help out, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking probably didn't have to do that, but I guess we're gonna find out. So let's get those studs and start getting this wrapped up. Alright, got all 4 of the new wheel studs in on the driver's side here. You definitely don't have to take this backing plate off. You can just get the stud through where the wheel kit goes. So basically what we ended up doing too, had to use a Dremel tool to kind of hog the holes out a little bit, because they're just too tight for the studs to fit in there. So just using the long handle 3/8 drive ratchet, and start driving it in there. And if it starts binding up, just take it back out, you know, knock the stud back out with a hammer, and then hog that hole out some more with the Dremel tool. I'm just using that lithium grease on there. This one won't hang cockeyed. Just pop it out.
Yeah, I have to.
Alright, so this is a good example. This one is kind of going in on an angle and it's getting really tight, so you know you can destroy the threads on this new stud pretty easily. So if it feels like it's binding or something's not going right, you know, it's a lot easier to just knock the stud out, hit it with that grinding stone, and start over again. You know, give yourself a little more clearance, and you know it should pull in relatively easy. You know, get to the point where it starts binding, it's just gonna chew up the threads on your brand new stud. So. Alright guys, got the new studs on there. Got the brakes done on both sides. You want to throw that on there?
Yeah.
So, you know, got the new wheel kits. Got the new lines going back to the splitter back there. Alright, that took some persuasion, but got that on there. So, yeah. Rear's pretty much done. Let's get the fronts straightened out and start bleeding this stuff. Alright, so putting the new studs in the rotors. This one's all done. Got them in there. So, been taking an old wheel lock, you know, screw that on there, big hammer, just knock the stud out. Been doing them one at a time, so you kind of hold the rotor. So gonna take the Dremel tool, just like the axles in the back, you know, we got to clearance this out a little bit, and then got the tool. I'll grease up the backside with the lithium grease. When I grab the new stud, put lithium around the base of it, and I'll run some lithium on the threads. And just using a lug nut. So it's going to go like that. Grab the part number for this tool. So that's the tool, and then you gotta be careful because see this stud, we screwed this one up, ended up chewing up the threads on it. So I mean, we're lucky that this car's 4 lugs, so basically I have 4 spare lugs to deal with, but still you want to be careful not to destroy the new ones. So gonna get going on this. I think you know, greasing the stuff up with the lithium so that it can spin on there and so it's not binding on the threads. Pretty good idea.
good?
good. It's fully seated.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's it, you know. Goes a lot faster using an impact. But like I said, you want to make sure that it's clearanced out. You could do it with a ratchet too. It takes a little bit longer. Pretty much did everything on the back with a ratchet, but obviously the air tool's quite a bit faster. Alright, so got the tie rods off of my white car, put them on here because they're in better shape than what was on here. Didn't really put too many miles on those, so they're still pretty much new. So got both sides done, got the spindle cleaned up, packing the wheel bearings right now. After doing all that grinding on these to put the studs in, definitely gotta get them cleaned up, so sprayed it off with brake clean real good. It's looking pretty nice. So gotta put the wheel bearing in there, put the seal on, start mounting this up. And got the bearing in there, putting the seal on. Alright, got the bearing and the seal on there. Alright, got the spindle all greased up. Alright, got the rotor on there. The outer wheel bearing. So gonna have to adjust the wheel bearing and I'll clean this rotor off again before getting the caliper on there. Alright, got the new caliper and the pads on there. Got everything all greased up. The new line is on there. It's looking pretty nice.